guys. This is episode 4 on the Become Fearless podcast. I'm excited today. I've got Laurence from financialthing.com. Laurence specializes in peer-to-peer lending investing, teaches people how to invest peer-to-peer, also does educates people on the stock market as well as budgeting and debt reduction. He's got a YouTube channel that you can subscribe to. He does regular live streams where he educates, teaches people all about this area of investing. So really excited to have you on the show, Laurence, mate. How you doing?
Great, Johnny. Thank you for having me. How are you today? How's things in London town?
Really good. As I said to you before we started this interview, I choose to be positive every day. It's not easy. Things have been a bit up and down in London. The mood's kind of like good one day, and then the next day it's a bit doom and gloom, as you can expect. So it's been an emotional roller coaster, but I work at being positive every day like yourself, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to bring you on here with these interviews, give people some encouragement, some hope, hopefully a little bit of entertainment as well. So, yeah.
Hope so. It's important to stay positive, Johnny. You know that. The mind is a very powerful thing.
100%. So I'll get into the first question. Usually I'll do these interviews, Laurence, very open dialogue, but I've got a few questions. So throw you in the deep end. What's your story, Laurence? How did you get started with Financial Thing, and what attracted you to the area of finances? And you could also touch on your story about where you grew up and stuff like that.
Yeah, so I grew up in the northeast of England in a place called Grimsby. You might have heard of it, a little fishing town in close to Skegness. Usually the butt of English jokes, home of Butlins. But so I grew up in this little fishing town and graduated towards the south of England, ended up in Poole in Dorset. That's the short, young part of my life. And then ventured over to the USA when I was 19 years old to go to university, and then started dabbling in business at that point. The Financial Thing side of things, which is my finance website, didn't come until very late in life. Well, late relatively in my life. But I think it happened in about 2014. My dad was diagnosed with cancer, and he and I used to take long walks together because it was sort of during the last 2 months of his life. And I think he saw the writing on the wall, and he asked me that, if I would really get my financial life in order, because it was sort of a bit of a mess at that point. I wasn't in particular debt or anything like that, but I just had no interest in organization of finances. I didn't know how to invest money. I had no real plan for retirement. But the main consideration was that he asked me to, he wanted me to help my mother after he was gone, because she didn't have any knowledge of finance, and she wasn't really somebody that paid attention to her finances, and he wanted her to be taken care of. So he just made me promise him that I would start looking into finance, and it was something I was very, I was very just. It reminded me of drinking sour milk when I had anything to do with investing. And the reason for that was when I was 16 years old in school in Bournemouth, I was supposed to go on a work placement. Back then they used to have these 3-week work placements, and I'd signed up to be a member at a stockbrokers that they would take me on for 3 weeks. And the night before I was supposed to go, they called and canceled on me, leaving me with no place to go for work experience. And then I had a thought at 16, because you do make the smartest decisions at 16. I thought, everybody in finance must be real dickheads, and why would I ever want to be involved in an industry like that? So I just had this disdain for anything to do with finance. So long story short, I created the Financial Thing website really to document what I had discovered about peer-to-peer lending at that time, and then it turned into this place to sort of educate people on how easy investing is. And investing is a very convoluted, overly complicated business that's by design is designed to do that, because the financial world wants you as a consumer to go and buy products that maybe not the best things for you, and to go to a financial advisor who will sometimes sell you things that are not necessarily the best things for you. You know, in the UK, we have thousands and thousands of investment products, and as a consumer, you just wouldn't know what to choose. So the idea of Financial Thing was to go through, review the companies that I was investing in myself, and then educate people how easy it is to invest and how to simply do that. So you just really don't always need the help of a professional that might steer you in the wrong direction. So that's the short story.
That's a great story, Laurence, and that's why I like bringing great people on this show. Sorry about the thing with your father, but that was really touching and really inspiring. Especially when you said you went for a long walk, and I really like the fact that you said at the start your kind of relationship to business and finance was a bit like you found it a bit gross, but then you looked into it and changed your perception, obviously. And I think that's why I wanted to inspire people with this conversation, because a lot of people have got a negative relationship towards things until they understand it. And I suppose you've got to want to understand it, and you did. So that's really interesting. I could go into so many different things from what you said. I'm trying to get more professional at these interviews as well. So
that's okay. That's okay. Let me just say one other thing too about that, Joe, which I think is really
go for it.
Yeah, very important. Is a lot of the times the things that we're very against learning is just through pure fear of not knowing what the right decision is, and also knowing, you know, if we make the wrong decision, that it could cost us financially. So I think being educated about the topic that you're really afraid of is the best thing, because you can have a really enlightening moment that it kind of hit me like a lightning strike. It was like, wow, I read this one book. It was just a very simple book. It was called the Little Book of Common Sense Investing by John Bogle. And that was like a lightning bolt moment about finance that made me understand how easy it is. And once I understood it, I didn't have any fear anymore.
Well, that's great. That was my next question, which was, what fears have you faced? And it's funny you said that, Laurence, because my ethos on this channel is to educate people, to motivate, inspire, and give them the tools to change their life. And that's taught me something today. You're right. When we don't know about something, we're afraid of it because we fear we're going to lose something or be hurt in the process. So how could you, what tool would you give someone off the top of your head if they wanted to get into peer-to-peer lending, investing, and they wasn't educated, but they really wanted to do it and they were scared? Is there any little tool that you could give them that they could implement today?
Yeah, absolutely. And let me just say, you know, the peer-to-peer lending has kind of gone through a bit of a change in the last few years. It's a very innovative finance sector that's growing, and it's definitely due to COVID. But even before that, in 2019, it's taken a bit of a hard stumble. So it's very important that you pay attention to the information that you're getting. But I would say there's a couple of resources. Like, you can go to my website, financialthing.com, and I have a lending guide that really walks you through the basics of what peer-to-peer lending is and how you can avoid the bad companies and invest through the good, what I consider to be the better companies, by, you know, gathering information on them. Peer-to-peer lending, again, you pretty much just go to websites like Fourth Way or Financial Thing. There's a great forum out there called the Peer-to-Peer Independent Forum, which has amazing resources. But yeah, cheap plug for my website. Go there and get as much information as you need on how to go down that investing road if you choose to.
I'll definitely check it out, guys, because I spent about 2 hours last night looking at Laurence's website, his content for the first time, and I was really impressed what I got from it. It was really honest. You simplified something that probably a lot of people overcomplicate. It was really professional as well. And as someone who is a layman in this area myself, I hardly know anything about investing and stuff. So I feel really privileged that I get to learn about this as well and inspire other people. So check out the website, really great stuff. So my next question, we're going to jump off topic because you spoke to me about this before. I want to bring it in. This has got nothing to do with investing. We'll come back to investing and peer-to-peer lending. You said you had a period in your life where you was a DJ. I found that so interesting when you shared that with me in London, and you performed in front of massive crowds. And we're all about becoming fearless on this channel, whether it's with investing in the stock market, whether it's talking to people, getting a relationship, doing live streams, going to a job interview, you know, anything, the dentist, any fears that people have. So do you want to talk about your career in DJing and maybe how, I'm guessing there might have been some things you learned in DJing that you could have applied to going into the world of the financial sector, or maybe you didn't. I'm just curious. That made sense.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I graduated from university, I was sort of a bit lost. I had gotten a degree in communications, and I couldn't even tell you what that degree is for, or one thing that I even learned in university. So when I graduated, I was just completely lost, Johnny. I had no clue what I wanted to do, but I had met this guy in university that was a DJ, and his name was Chip, and he's sort of been my inspiration. I know you sort of had a mentor. I forget what his name is, but you talk about him a lot. But I had a mentor in the same way within music, and um, I just remember the real turning point for me was I was at home in Bournemouth in Poole, and do you know those old hi-fis that your dad used to have sitting in the corner of the room? It had a record player and maybe a couple of cassette decks on it.
100%. We had yeah, we had one. I grew up. That's nostalgic, Laurence.
Yeah, those old school hi-fis. So I didn't have turntables, but I really wanted to learn how to DJ. I was sort of a bit obsessed with it. And turntables, I don't know if you know this, but to buy really good turntables, and this was before digital music was out. This is when we used to play on vinyl records. But turntables back then were about, I don't know, 450 pounds a piece. And then you needed a mixer too. So you were looking at a 1,400 investment, and I didn't have the money at the time. So I would sit and use my dad's hi-fi, play a record on top, and then mix using the cassette deck. And I just instantly became hooked. From there, bought myself like a keyboard, and I just started actually making music. I never intended to be a DJ. Actually, I was a rap DJ. I was the only guy who looked like me in the crowd of other people within a rap music crowd. This was back in the 1990s. And I was never a really great DJ, Johnny. I was always interested in making music, and that was what I wanted to do. So I started down the production road, and from there, just when you become a producer, and if you have any sort of success at that, the way to really make money off of music is to perform. So I would get offers from other DJs in nightclubs that had bought my records in different places in the world, and they would invite me to come and perform at their clubs and festivals. But if I'd have known what I know now, how I could tie that into investing was to take a portion of my income and invest it away. And I did do that in some very small amounts. But if I knew what I knew now, that's one thing I could take away. I had a pretty good income, but I didn't really I didn't pay myself first. And that was a huge mistake. And that's, it's cost me probably quite a lot of money over my lifetime through not investing and not being smart with money. But yeah, that was a great experience, and being out in front of those people is, you definitely have to understand that fear is going to get you. When you're standing in front of a crowd of 15,000 people in there waiting for you to do something, you have to learn how to swallow that fear down and just, face the fear and do it anyway.
Wow.
That's it.
Can you talk me through that process? I'm fascinated with that predicament, Laurence, and many people are. And obviously, I've experienced fear many times in my life, and you all relate to that feeling where you're in the moment, about to give a public talk or an interview or speak to someone you're attracted to, and your fight or flight gets triggered, and you have that feeling, and it feels like it's going to swallow you up. So I'm trying to get you to share as much tools as possible so people can take more action. How did you learn to do that? That's a massive amount of people, 15,000 people. That must have felt quite euphoric, though. You must have felt like a bit of a god as well. That many people depending on you and their attention on you. So you want to talk us through maybe the first experience as well, how you dealt with that and how it got better for you?
Yeah, the fear is really just a mindset of being able to feel. I know on your channel you talk a lot about outcome dependency, like don't be dependent on the outcome. And the real truth is people generally want to see you win in life. And it's no different from standing in front of a crowd. That crowd wants to see you win. And for the most part, they want to help you. There's very few times that I can think of somebody negative. I mean, I've DJ'd hundreds of events, and I can't think of really, there's been a couple of times you might get the drunk idiot who's staring at you from the crowd or, flicking you off, but very rarely. Everybody wants you to win. And I think it's just a mindset set of, you feel that fear inside, you stand up in front of that crowd, and then you do what you love to do. You play music, and sometimes crowds are different. As a DJ, you feed off the crowd. If the crowds can be very subdued, then you don't get really that euphoric experience. But when you go to places where the crowd is just really insane and really connected to what you're doing, then the fear just kind of disappears. There's always going to be bad things that happen. And I can think of a couple of incidents. There was one event where I tripped over the power cable and shut down the whole sound system for a pretty big event with about 3,000 people. I've stopped the wrong record and had the music go dead. I've missed plane flights and been late before. And you just kind of feel like, hey, those things are going to happen. You deal with it, and you're not going to die from it. That's the key to remember. Nothing is that bad. Yeah. So my first experience, I remember the first job I got as a DJ in a club. I don't think I necessarily had the fear that, thinking back, it wasn't that bad. But I've had times where I've stood in front of crowds and been, almost every gig that I had, in front of any sizable crowd, I would have fear. Absolutely. It was just there. But it always went away, 10, 15 minutes into it, just disappears, and you just enjoy it and enjoy the experience and be, have a place and a mindset of gratitude to think how many people would love to be on that stage doing what they love to do, to play music for people. I live in a place of gratitude where I'm really thankful. I'm humble. You mentioned feeling like godlike. I never felt like that. That was something. I'm just a regular guy. I just happen to pick up a keyboard and write a few songs that people loved and have an immense amount of luck. But I'm no different from you or anybody else out there. I just was in the right place at the right time. I've always been grateful for that, and just a humble person when it comes to the notoriety side of the music business. So
I really appreciate the wisdom. I love what you said, Laurence. It really helped me. It will help a lot of people. It was simple but brilliant, where you said, you might feel fearful for 15 minutes, but you just work through it with the passion and the excitement. Eventually the fear does go. And I think that's so reassuring for people who might want to do something at this moment in time, especially in the COVID. They might want to start something, they're scared. But when you know that the fear won't last forever, it may be 15 minutes, but if you can handle it and work through it and be present and, like you said, and have gratitude, it works out, it goes away. So it's not like fear's there forever, is it? I think that's one of our psychological irrational fears. We think we're going to be afraid in a situation forever, and we're never going to be able to get rid of it. And that's clearly not true.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah.
So back to investing. Do you want to talk about what you're doing at the moment? Because I was really curious when I subscribed to your channel. I was looking at some of your live streams. They look really good. It looks like you've got a good little following coming. Do you want to talk about that? Your challenges, your passions, where you want to go with it? Or do you have a direction, or are you just going with the flow? I'm really curious about financialthing.com and the direction where you're taking it, what you're doing at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so right now, what I've started doing is, and this is actually inspired by you, Johnny, because I wasn't doing this. I think I started in sort of just a little bit before COVID time, if I remember. I had done a couple of live streams, but I'd been tuning into you and watching your live streams, and I thought, I need to do that for my finance channel, because
Right.
Why not? It's a free resource. I mean, YouTube is handing this to you and saying, use it. Why would you not use it as a business owner? So I didn't think anybody was going to tune in. The first one that I did, I was extremely nervous. You want to talk about fear. You know what it's like, Johnny, being in front of a camera, and you can't interact in some ways. It's just you talking and talking and talking, and you think, oh, am I going to run out of things to say? I'm going to look like an idiot. But I felt the fear and I just did it anyway. So what's the worst thing that can happen? I have a terrible live stream and haha, so what? So I did it. And I think I had 100 people on the first live stream, which is the most that I've ever had. And it was very nice to interact with the readers and people that you know interact with me off of the camera on email. And the direction that I want to take obviously is to grow that and to give value and to be of service. Obviously, you know, we don't really make any money off of doing things like that, Johnny. We just do it for the love and to be of service for people. Financial thing is just really out there to educate. And, you know, my goal in life would be to touch every single person that I could with information and let them know, you know, especially young people. That's who I'm really passionate about, because if you start investing when you're 20 years old, by the time you're 40, 50 years old, you can be a millionaire, you know, no problem whatsoever. If you invest a little bit every week and put it away, don't touch it, you are almost guaranteed that you can be a millionaire by the time you're 50. And it was something that nobody ever taught me when I was younger. And if I'd have known, it would have made life so much easier. You know, now I'm 47 years old. I'm coming to that time where if I'd have started when I was 20 or 19, 18 years old, I would be able to retire now. And that's not happened because of lack of knowledge. So I want to be able to offer that information to every single person out there. And even if you're older, I started investing when I was in my early 40s. So you can still start. You know, it's never too late to start. And I just want to be able to give that information to everybody and just be of service, Johnny.
That sounds so exciting. I totally agree with you. It's never too late to start. When people say, oh, I'm 40, I'm 50, I really don't agree with it. I was looking yesterday, Les Brown's 75, Laurence. He doesn't look 75 because he hasn't lost his passion for life. He's still inspiring people. He's still making products. He's still making money. He's still inspiring me. So if you're passionate, I think the age really is just a number. Wow, I'm really enjoying this conversation. My next question is, what is my next question? Let's have a think about that. Yeah, I was actually going to come back. So with the DJing, did you DJ in America? Because you grew up in England. I didn't get to ask you that. So were all the gigs in the States?
No, funnily enough, so I spent a lot of time in the States and in England too, going back and forth. But a lot of my gigs were actually in Spain. The type of music that I was producing, it was very niche. And Spain was one of the countries that was a big type of music genre. They were very into it. So I would do a lot of gigs in Spain and Canada, and also in the States too, in Florida and the southern US, California. But I've been to quite a lot of places in the US. Yeah, a lot of the gigs were there. Clubs and festivals, LA, places like that, DC, Atlanta. Yeah.
I saw one of your videos yesterday that I thought was really, because I love video making. He was doing a video educating people on the investing, and it was in the wall of China. It was amazing, the background. Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of the things I've been trying to incorporate in the channel, Johnny, is finance can be a very dry subject. Usually if you see somebody who's talking about finance, you think of this older guy with gray hair wearing a suit talking about investing in Rolls-Royce or BP. So I have a very big passion for traveling, Johnny, that I've inherited from my dad, from my late father who passed. And what I thought was, well, every time I go somewhere interesting, why don't I record videos about finance? Because that would be a great incorporation of two things that I'm very passionate about. So that's the video that you saw. I was lucky enough to go and hike the Great Wall in 2019 before COVID. And I was actually there in it was October of 2019 before all of this mess hit the world. Very lucky timing. But yeah, I do like to get those amazing snapshots of places where I can record videos and just little financial tidbits.
Yeah,
I call them short tips. Yeah, short tips.
No, it really is good. It's really creative, and you made a good point there. And I was thinking about before I interviewed that we've got these ideas when we grow up of how a banker is, or an artist, or a teacher. And I've worked with so many different people over the years. And when you actually get to know people, everyone's the same. You know, it's what they do is not necessarily who they are. Like you said, you've done DJing, you've done investing. But I think it's hard because we've been conditioned growing up with these ideas, and we see adverts. And when we think of a businessman, we think of a guy in a suit, being serious. And although it can be like that, a lot of the times when you get to know people, it's really not like that. It's just another person. But even sometimes I get caught with those ideas. When I was thinking about finances and investing, in my mind it comes in, you know, the Wolf of Wall Street America, the adverts, and I'm like, I know it's not just that's just the idea. That's my, you know, and usually our idea about the idea is not accurate with the person, and that they have a life, they eat, they have a family, they watch films.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, they go to the toilet, same way we
they go
do.
to the toilet as well. Yeah, I got over
Yeah.
investing in some new toilet roll. We might have another lockdown.
Yeah, and it's funny because when I think about finance, right, you look more like a banker than I do, Johnny. Let's be honest, you got your jacket on, and
I'm trying
I've
to be professional, right? I try and do a theme, so I thought today, grey shirt, jacket.
yeah, you look like a finance guy. And you know, one thing I wanted to say too is being an entrepreneur right now in 2020 is really, it's kind of a hip thing to do. And I think a lot of things that stop people from creating businesses is, again, fear of what will people think about them. Um, when I started doing my live stream, a girl that I was dating at the time said, "You need to dress nicer." She's like, "You need to put a shirt and a tie on, and here's me in my t-shirt because this is who I am." You know, and society has forced mindsets that we have to be a certain way to present ourselves to people. And, you know, that's a bunch of BS. You should do what you want to do and be who you are, no matter what industry you're in, no matter what people think about you. If you want to wear a Hawaiian shirt and you're a lawyer, wear a Hawaiian shirt. You know, we've been so constrained by these mindsets that it's time that people understand that it's okay to break out of the norm and to do something different. Nobody's, you know, anybody can do that.
No, I totally agree. It's such a coincidence you just said it. I made a new video yesterday all about what you said, and I think you should just wear what you want. And when I started working with people, it broke a lot of my stereotypes, because I worked with a guy who was a millionaire, and I've never met a millionaire in my life. He just happened to be, and he just wore normal clothes, but he had a, you know, he's a really cool guy, older guy. So you don't have to wear a suit to get into investing and financing. But I like wearing suits anyway. But I agree, you look sharp and smart every time I see you, Laurence. But if you want to wear a t-shirt and run a business, what difference does it make? As long as you're giving people value, as long as you're true to what you do, you don't have to be rigid. And I think that's a good thing about today, that on a positive note, we have evolved. Like the business person today doesn't look like the business person of the 80s or the 70s. It could be a teenager in a t-shirt making millions of pounds with a YouTube channel and sponsorships. And but I do like some of the old stereotypes, the positive elements. I do think sometimes it does look good when someone's in a suit. It does show that you're making an effort, but it can also go the other way if someone's trying too hard and wearing a suit and trying to be something that they're not. So really good point that you mentioned. I was just thinking maybe that stops a lot of people from getting into investing and doing what you're teaching people, peer-to-peer lending. Maybe their idea of it is putting them off something that could really benefit them.
Yeah. The amazing thing about this age of technology that we're going through, Johnny, is there's so many resources now that are making investing open to younger people. Like with the technology they've got, you can do, I don't know if you know this, but if you watch my video I did a video on trading 212, which is a trading app where I bought 5,500 pounds of stocks as a portfolio test to see how I would do over a period of a year. And the great thing is you can buy fractional shares nowadays. You know, some shares and stocks are very expensive. It could be £500 for one share, and maybe you don't have that much money, but you can buy a fraction of that share now. It's called fractional share ownership. So tech is really, you couldn't do that 10 years ago. You couldn't buy, 0.1% of Tesla or Apple stock. You had to buy one share. And now young people are buying and investing now because everything has changed for the better when it comes to investing. There's more opportunities to do things like that.
Yeah, I watched that video last night and I really love that. I mean, I trust what you do because I know you personally, but I love the fact that you showed evidence on your channel. You know, you're getting in the deep end. I saw that investment that you did and you showed, I think you're up 11%, if I remember.
Yeah, not today, but now it's about 8. But yeah, it was doing good.
About 11% I saw, and I really love that. I thought that was great to show that to people. But yeah, I've got another question for you, Laurence. This is, when we think of does investing just have to be investing financially with money, or is investing more a lifestyle? Is it a mindset? Is it thinking beyond just me investing my money in something, or is it a bit of both? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, everybody has a different reason for why they do things. And I think purpose is extremely important when you're creating a business or you're investing. You have to really figure out why you're doing it. Some people do it to leave a legacy for their kids. I think that's an important thing. If you have children, you could start investing for them when they're babies. And when they're 20, 25 years old, you could give them a great start in life. Personally, me, I don't have any kids, so my goal with investing is always to have enough where I can help other people. If I see somebody in need that needs £100 or £100,000, and I have that ability to do it, then that's my purpose, but you can also invest in yourself, right? Through personal growth, development. I've done some seminars where I've been to California for a week and spent quite a lot of money on investing in myself. You can invest in your health, right? Like you're a big gym guy. I know you like to go work out and swim.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, COVID has probably changed that for you, but there's different investment mindsets, right? It could be financial, but it also could be investment in health, growth, development, investing in your education, or going back to school or university and getting a new set of tools. Many different ways to invest in yourself, right?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, and I think a lot of people, I know I've been guilty of this myself. I've got very good at getting better at it. A lot of people are happy to invest in things that really don't add any value to them. But if you was to encourage them to invest in something that would add value, some people get upset and think you're trying to rip them off, or you're trying to get money out of them, or you're trying to be disrespectful to them. And a lot of the times you're not. You're generally telling them that them putting their money in a different direction could actually make them more money. Are we still here?
Yeah.
Connection just changed. Yeah, it could really benefit them. And when I got into self-help, probably like you, Laurence, it really changed that mindset for me that, invest in yourself or in a mentor or a seminar is such a positive thing in so many different ways. And it's funny how our relationship with money, for a lot of people, can be really contradictory, in that people will buy McDonald's different products that don't add any value to them. But if you was to ask them to go to a seminar or invest in a coaching session, they might turn their nose up and say, no, that's too expensive. I've heard that before, say that, or it doesn't work. But I can understand where they're coming from, because, there was a time where I was like that. I think it's like what you said, it's about experience. Once you have a personal breakthrough with investing and you see the benefits, that's when it can change for you. So let me ask you about, because I was looking on your live stream, I didn't obviously get time for everything. I wanted to ask you, what kind of people are coming onto your channel and interested? Is it men, women? Is it different backgrounds? I was just curious about your people that you're helping, your customers, your subscribers.
Yeah, there's a a very wide array of different people on there. It seems to be predominantly men. There's a few women that join the stream every week.
Right.
We have younger people in their 20s up to older people in retirement, pilots, musicians, bankers, uh, anything in between. It really is a wide array of different people. And I think, the connection of being more technology based doing the live stream, you do tend to reach also the younger people. You become connected to them because they understand things like YouTube and social media. But there's just been so many different types of people. We have people that have way more investment knowledge than I do who come on the stream and also share their experience in the chat, also on the Facebook group. If you want to join the Facebook group too, feel free, Johnny, to come and learn some things about investing. It's free, but you can search for the financial thing on Facebook, join the group. But yeah, I love the diversity of the different people that come on the stream. Absolutely amazing. Oh, and one thing I wanted to say too about something you mentioned about mindset on spending money and investing in yourself.
Yeah.
My financial mindset has really shifted from the way it was 6 or 7 years ago. I used to live in this terrible scarcity mindset that I would hold on to every penny. I can remember being in a relationship and my partner was wanting to go out and buy a pair of jeans that were expensive, and she never spent money on anything. She was very conscious of spending, and she came home with this 300-pound pair of jeans, and I almost like lost my mind. I was thinking, how could you do that? You just spent 300 pounds on a pair of jeans. But now my mindset is completely different. Like, you can't be a hoarder of money, and the way that I think about things now, Johnny, is that money flows around the universe. If I go and spend money on a coaching session or a seminar, I'm putting the money out there and it's going to flow around back to me in other ways. So I'm no longer afraid and full of fear about spending money in that way. I love investing in myself. I love going to seminars. I love taking coaching when I can. And I think that's a really important thing to do in life, because if you hang on to money and you hoard it, you'll find yourself thinking this scarcity mindset where it doesn't come back to you at all.
No, that's fantastic advice. I totally agree on that, and I've experienced that as well. It's like it can actually cause you a lot of pain to hold on to money because you're teaching yourself that you haven't got much money, and you are right when you invest it in good places. Miraculously, it does seem to come back in so many different ways, and so yeah, I think you've highlighted a point I was going to mention. It actually builds confidence, doesn't it, investing money? Because you've got to face that fear of letting go, letting it out of your hand, investing it in someone else's business or for your own education. I think, many entrepreneurs say this. We certainly wasn't taught this in my school growing up. It did never taught you the value of investing your money in the right places for your family or friends or for your future. And I was scratching my head when I become an entrepreneur because I was like, why didn't they teach me this stuff in school? It's a lot of it's common sense, but you don't realize that until you practice it. And I think sometimes, Laurence, as well, I probably can speak for some people, we get very intimidated by language. When you hear words like banking, investing, business, entrepreneurship. I know when I was young, because I grew up in a working class background and a council estate, and hearing those words used to put fear in me, used to make me feel, oh, I can't do that. They're people on the telly, they're different, perfect. And it's amazing how language can affect us, and when you actually do it, anyone can be a businessman if they want to do that and they choose to do it, like you said. But people have, I suppose we all do, right? They have blocks of what they can do and what they can't do. And like yourself, I've invested a lot of money over the years in mentors, and it was a great investment. And of course, I've wasted a lot of money as well. So, what are some of the I don't know, what have been some of the biggest challenges for you on your journey with everything, with self-help, with your financialthing.com and traveling? Can you kind of trying to get people to talk about that on the show to inspire people that it's okay, we all go through struggles, and maybe talking
Hmm.
about it can help a lot of people that are going through their struggles, especially during now with the COVID. And it's a really challenging time for people.
Yeah, absolutely. Johnny, I've had definitely ups and downs in my business career. Being an entrepreneur, you know, people think it's this very easy walk, and it's not, because you don't know where sometimes your next income
Yeah.
payment is going to come from. And I've had times where I've second guessed myself, and you know, imagine being a music producer, right, or a DJ, and not having a gig schedule for the next month or 2 months in advance, and having to have faith that something is going to happen if you continue to put the hard work in. And I've faced, you know, I've lost a huge amount of money in the property crash in 2008. Um, Gone through a bankruptcy in 2010 because I took on too much debt, leverage at that point, owned too much property. So yeah, I can definitely talk about challenges of
How do you get
the
through?
ups and downs of being to get through them, and it can be hard. It can be
Mm,
hard. It's easy to give up and say, "Oh, I'm not gonna try to be a business owner anymore. I'll just go get a 9 to 5 job in an office somewhere that I don't like, just to have some kind of secure income." But you know, at the end of the day, you just have to push through and keep fighting for what it is that you want. That's why it's important, Johnny, to have, you know, a purpose behind what you're doing, because every job will get boring. Trust me, you can do the thing that you love the most every day, but there's movie stars that talk about the grind of being an actor, how going through the same scene 50 times at the middle of the night is becomes drudgery. And so you have to have a purpose of a reason why you're doing what you do. You know what it's like to edit videos, right? Sometimes it can take you hours, like
yeah.
that one that you watched. It took me 7 hours to edit one video that may only get 100 views. You have to have a purpose and a passion for the reason why
Mm.
you're doing that, because otherwise you just give up. And I've definitely been through those hard times, Johnny, like everybody else. You know, COVID has presented massive challenges. The income drop on my website has been drastic. What happened with COVID is people lost their trust for investing in the types of things that I talk about in the alternative finance sector, which meant that, you know, I make money through different affiliate arrangements. So those basically got shut down. Thankfully, I understand the power of having an emergency fund and having enough money to ride you through the bad times. But yeah, there's definitely ups and downs in everything in life. You just have to keep a positive mindset and know that things change. You know, you think back to probably where you were 10 years ago, it's completely different to where you are now, or even 2 or 3 years ago. Things change, and hopefully for the better if you just keep putting in the hard work and keep grinding.
Well, you answered every question. That was brilliant advice about you got to just keep moving forward. And you gave so many different things away. I'm going to watch this interview back and learn more things myself. You said so many key things to help people that are going through struggles. Actually, I want to touch on what you said. Right, it's interesting because it's about investing your time even in making content. Like you spent 7 hours doing that video, and I don't know, your thought process could have been like a lot of our thought processes are, it can be a bit contradictory. Like, I'm enjoying this. Another part could say, why am I doing it? This is taking 7 hours. But when I watched your video yesterday, Laurence, honestly, the first impression I got was, wow, this is brilliant. This is so professional. Because I really appreciate, as someone who makes content and has gone through the process and still learning, I can see when someone's put effort in. So if you didn't put 7 hours in and maybe you rushed it, my impression might have been different when I come on that video at other people. So I think that was worth the 7 hours that you put in to get it to that
Thank
level
you.
and have that impression that it made on me as soon as I clicked on the video, which is something we could talk about for hours, right? So that sometimes I think people don't invest enough time in their work, and that's why they don't achieve what they could achieve. I think we're all a bit guilty of that, but I found sometimes you don't feel like it, like you said, the actor doing the scene. But if you just put a few more hours in, the result is shockingly better than it would be if you didn't put those extra hours in and put that bit of effort in.
Yeah,
That was kind of a bit
absolutely.
of a motivational rant, but you got me passionate.
You have to do it, and you know, if you're doing it for um, you know, results at the end, you'll quit. You know, I make those videos because I like to make them, and I want, you know, even if one person gets help from a video and gives me a thumbs up and says, "I really liked what you've done," my job is done. That's why I do these things.
Yeah.
So I think that's important to note.
One of my goals for doing this interview series, I set a goal to interview 100 people, maybe more, is I personally want to help people to grow their platforms because I get a great joy out of doing that. So that's why I encourage people to subscribe to all the guests that we have on this channel because I know they're good people, very hardworking, and really trying to help people. So that was one of
Yeah.
my goals for doing this. That got me past my selfish fears and insecurities and things. And another thing is I really enjoy this. I get a buzz out of interviewing people and connecting and learning. So that's a great way of looking at things. So it seems to be, to state the obvious, in your life, maybe you can tell me that you're a person, you practice quite a lot, Laurence. When you want to do something, you seem like you're quite meticulous. Is that the case? Would you kind of shut yourself off, isolate, and put the hours in with regards to what you want to achieve, whether it's investing or your music producing?
Yeah, sometimes, Johnny. I mean, sometimes I'm the type of person that I'm a pretty free spirit, so I sort of do what brings me joy in life. And I think that's another thing is if something doesn't bring you joy, don't do it.
Mm.
My friend Sterling was talking to me about this a couple of days ago, and he said when he's thinking about going into a store or a shop to buy something, if he picks it up and it doesn't bring him immense joy, he doesn't buy it. You know, whether it's a pair of shoes or a chocolate bar. And I think that's key. If I feel like something is drudgery, I'm just gonna take a break. I'm gonna step away from it. I'm actually not one of these people that will hammer away even if I hate it. I'll come back to it. I'll just try to do things that I really like to do, and then I will lock myself away and start to become quite obsessive about getting a task complete. But it also has to bring me joy. So I
Yeah.
don't know if that answers your question.
No, it's great. There's no right or wrong answer. It's all your perspective. Do you find sometimes, Lauren, with the creative process, sometimes you just get into the flow and
Mhm.
it's just great. Time disappears. There's no kind of resisting emotions or inner
Yeah.
suffering. But there's other times where you just can't get into that place. You're trying. You're saying, I'm doing every step I did on the last thing I produced, which went great. But I can't get that connection. I experienced that a lot actually, and it can be frustrating and challenging when you're not feeling that joy and those emotions that you did feel literally a day before or a week before. Do you go through that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, the best example I can give you, Johnny, is music production. You sit down with a blank screen with nothing on there, and you have to write a song that really speaks to you. Writing music is you do it for yourself. You don't do it for other people. If it doesn't make me happy, I don't release it. There's so many songs that I've never released, but sometimes there's been, or many times I can think of where that creative process is just not happening and I can't get it right. And it's just part of the process. Sometimes you just scrap things and move on and say, that's not right for me, and on to the next thing.
Makes sense. This is just a question I'm going to ask you, right? Us guys that are we're aging with wisdom like fine wine. As I'm getting older, I don't have all the answers. Clearly not. I try and learn, but do you think, Laurence, sometimes it's better to not take action and do something if it doesn't feel right and you don't feel passionate or you feel tired or burnt out? It's better to wait for a better time where you do feel good, or do you think a person should ignore that, push through, and do it anyway? I can give you my personal answer, but I'm interviewing you on this show. I want to get yours, and I've been
Yeah.
7 months asking that question throughout lockdown. I haven't got a definitive answer, but I want to get your perspective
Yeah.
because so many people talk about this. I've said it. You should take action. You should push through, but there's intelligent action. There's intuitive action. There's timing. There's faith. There's faith. There's God. There's so many different factors. Did that? I know I don't make my questions easy for people on this show. They're really deep.
That's a
Yeah.
great question. That's a great question. I think the answer to that is if you're waiting to feel like doing something, you're probably waiting a long time. And your mind is a very powerful tool that I don't know if you know this, but I have a voice in my head that talks to me constantly, and everybody does. And
I
it's
got
that
him.
little voice.
You never
Huh?
fix up.
It never shuts up, right? The time you go to sleep and the time you wake up, you're going to hear that voice in your head telling you, you can't do this, or this is never going to work. Why start a YouTube channel? There's millions of channels out there. Who's going to find yours? And if you're waiting to feel good about it, no, never. You just do it. You walk through that fear and you walk through that pain and you just try. Even if it fails and it doesn't work, you'll never know unless you try. It's like people that are petrified to make cold calls, right? That's one of the scariest things as a salesperson.
100%.
Maybe something you've dealt with is something I have to deal with my business.
100%.
And it seems like the scariest thing in the world, right? To have to pick up somebody and ask for a sale. So if I was waiting to feel like doing that, I would never do it. So what do? I pick up that 1,000-pound phone and wait. It feels like a 1,000-kilogram rock.
Yeah.
And I make the phone call. What's the worst that happens? I can't wait till I feel like doing it. No, for sure. Yeah.
No.
What are your views?
No, my views are the same as yours. I can't really disagree because it's exactly the same. And I was terrified when I first started getting on the phone because I had really bad social anxiety to begin with. I had phone anxiety. I was very scared of stuttering because that would happen sometimes, and freezing up and blanking out. But like you at the time, I was so passionate and I was so determined that I had no choice. There was a part of me that dragged me out of my body and made me do it. But it wasn't easy. But as you said, nothing of any value generally is easy to begin with. So yeah, but I understand getting on the phone when you're talking about business and selling can be terrifying for people. So I am empathetic towards how people feel, but it's like anything. Even doing these interviews, I feel a lot better now. When I first did a series of interviews, I think it was about 2-3 years ago, I interviewed Paul Janker, was a famous relationship expert, and other experts. And I was really nervous before the interview. When it started, I felt a lot of adrenaline. Now I feel a lot more relaxed because I went through that 3 years ago. I feel like that investment in my practice of managing fear has starting to pay off, but I still get nervous about stuff. So yeah, that's why I made this channel and encourage people to become fearless. Wow, this has been a great conversation. We're coming towards the end. I'd love to get you back on again if we can make it happen and do it in person. A lot of the people I'm bringing on is so good. It's obviously because of the circumstances now. I'd like to do it more professionally. If you'd be up for that, Laurence, there's no guarantee, right, of what's going on, but if you come to London again, because it's been great. Is there anything, other things that you want to talk about with investing that you're passionate about or that people can learn or anything else?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say for anybody that's out there that doesn't invest for their future and retirement and things like that, just get started. It's very simple.
Can you
Go to my.
Can you start? Sorry to cut you, Laurence. If
Yeah.
people are really scared, can they start off just practicing with like £10 or $20, $50, just to get some confidence with handling money?
Absolutely.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, nowadays with the tools that are out there, you can start with £1. If you go to that Trading 212 video that I put out, they have this really great offer now, and anybody would be silly for not doing it. But if you click on my link that's listed in the video, all you got to do is deposit £1 and they're going to give you a free stock to start with.
That's
right. So they're giving you a here's a free gift to get you going. Yesterday I got a free stock. I was surprised it was a stock in AMD that they make processors for computers, and it was an $83 stock, and they just gave it to me for free. So I mean, you can get started with £1, but what I tell everybody is, if you have £100 of disposable income every month, don't go to the Chinese food shop every week and spend your £20 on that. Stick £20 away. Start small. Stick £20 away, and in a year's time, you're going to be glad that you got started, and you'll be even more happy in 10 years from now when you look at your account and say, wow, I've got £10,000. I never thought that sticking away £20 a week would turn into £10,000. But yeah, start small and grow your confidence. You go to my website. There's a very easy method to investing. I was just a quick tip, uh, and not considered financial advice, just my opinion, what I've done over the years and what I've learned. First of all, a couple of great books. Little Book of Common Sense Investing by John Bogle. It's an amazing book. It just talks about the power of index trackers, which I believe are the investment vehicle that most people, and especially inexperienced investors, should use. You can buy one index tracker, two index trackers, you're done for your entire life. You can buy those things through your entire life. They own the entire stock market. So instead of having to try to pick out stocks like Apple, Tesla, BP, you don't have to do that. This vehicle will take care of that for you and buy everything. Follows the markets. When the markets are good, the fund will do well. When the markets are bad, it will do poorly. It just the same way individual stocks and shares work. And just put a little bit away every week and see how you fare over the year, and to get some confidence and realize that this is really the way to do it.
No, that was really great. I was just going to ask you while we're on the topic. I think I saw it on your channel, unless I'm seeing things. Do you also do Bitcoin? I know very little about this, which I'm excited about learning more. I saw that on the channel, right? Is that part of peer-to-peer lending, or is that a separate matter?
No, peer-to-peer lending is the idea where you take money and loan it to people peer-to-peer. That way you're not doing it through a financial institution being the lender. It's me and you and the crowd who are loaning money to people. Bitcoin is simply crypto coin. It's completely separate. And I do dabble a little bit in that, but I see it as it's sort of the Wild West of finance that could be really a boom or bust situation. But I've always said that I wasn't really into crypto coin, that I thought it wasn't a good investment vehicle because I didn't really understand it. But when I learned more about it, and I particularly like Bitcoin, there's many different coins out there that exist. I like Bitcoin because they're the Colgate of crypto coin. It's sort of the brand name that everybody understands. And I did look at Bitcoin, by the way, when it was $2 a Bitcoin, and today I think it just went over 12,000. Unfortunately, I wasn't smart enough to put £1,000 into Bitcoin when it was £2 or $2, because hindsight is everything. But I think it's really a 10-year play plus 10 more years. You just stick a bit of money in there and it could turn into something huge, or it could be absolutely nothing. We don't know. But I think blockchain is the future of finance. If you've ever used it, it's just so easy to send money to people. You just send them a little bit of cryptocurrency. It's instantaneous. There's downsides to it, of course, but yeah, I think crypto is a good place to stick if you can stick a few £100 away and forget about it and look in 10 years and see if it turns into anything. You might be pleasantly surprised. There's some theorists that think Bitcoin is going to be anywhere from $100,000 to $10 million a Bitcoin. So, if you own a Bitcoin and it turns into a $10 million value or $1 million value, you're going to be pretty happy.
That's really interesting. I like what you said earlier about you can buy a proportion of the coin. So I had a friend who I interviewed actually, and I didn't know this. I've got quite a lot of friends that I didn't know they do some investing and trading, and I didn't know they did it. And he was telling me that he invested in a proportion of a Bitcoin. He bought a percentage of the coin. So I understood that much, and then you said it. But I think that's what I've really learned today talking to you. You've really educated me on the matter, and it definitely gives you more confidence and more curiosity when you've got more education on the matter, to state the obvious, but it's not always obvious practice. So a couple more questions before we end this great conversation today is, how do you find other people then in the community of what you do? Do you go on YouTube and go into the search bar, or is it Facebook? Is it a bit of everything? I was going to also ask you as well. Sorry, I'm curious. Is there still a lot of face-to-face meetings with what you do? Actually going out and meeting people in person to get clients, or or to educate people, or to connect with like-minded people that are passionate about finance and investing in peer-to-peer.
No, everything is internet based now, Johnny. There's very little. I used to come to London 2 or
Yeah,
3 times a year for face-to-face meetings, and that right now is, uh, one of the things that COVID has done is shown us that we don't really need to necessarily do things like that. People are learning that they can work from home, and a lot of businesses are just getting rid of their offices and letting people work remotely. But there's nothing like face-to-face, to be honest, and shaking somebody's hand. But hopefully, next year maybe things will change when it comes to that. But right now, everything is just purely internet based.
yeah, I think it's great on one hand, but I do think it's a bit catastrophic to mental health, because it would be a sad thought if we stop meeting each other in person and all of our relationships are just like this. Even though this is fun space, I can't see it being sustainable and healthy for the human psyche that we don't actually meet and bond in person. As you said, it's very different in person than it is
Yeah,
over the internet. Even though it's a blessing and a curse. It's good in many ways because you can connect with someone. If you don't fully feel like meeting up with people, you can do it this way. But I can't see it being a positive thing for self-esteem and mental health going in the long run. But I don't know.
no,
It's another concept.
absolutely not. COVID has changed everybody's social lives, right? It's
Yeah.
I have some views about the COVID situation that are maybe not the way other people think about it. I think it's a shame that what the governments have done to the economies by shutting things down, and my heart definitely goes out to people that have had this disease or have lost family members. But people lose family members to flu every year, and I don't. I think this is going to be the new norm, Johnny. This thing is not going away. There's going to be people that don't want to get vaccinated when a vaccine does come out, if it comes out, and this may just be the way that life is from now on, and we're going to have to find ways to work around that. Obviously, being smart with the masks and all of that. And there's a lot of people who say these masks are not even effective. That's a whole uh, different rabbit hole to go down. But yeah, this is the new norm. And I don't know if you can relate, but I'm sure your social life has probably changed since March, how you were used to going out, meeting people, and uh, congregating with your friends. And I feel very much isolated and shut off from my family. It's my mother is 84 years old now. I feel like I can't have the same relationship with her, and doing it through Skype. In some ways, we've become more connected because we're talking more often, but in other ways, there's nothing like being with somebody in person and being able to hug them and have that connection with them. And that's just really disappeared. So we're going to have to find ways to work around it. This thing is not going to go away.
Yeah. No, I really feel for you, Laurence, that you can't see your mum. And I'm quite lucky because, my parents are not too far away, but of course it's affected my social life. And yeah, I felt isolated many times during this period, but I've also made a point of reaching out to people. I have met up with some friends, and obviously we followed the rules, but I do agree on what you just said earlier. I was a bit reluctant before to go into COVID-19. I thought there's so much talk on it, but I'll speak my mind out. I don't think things that the government are doing, a lot of things I can't see the sense in it. But that's another topic. Who's to say that the masks work, and closing down the whole economy is affecting. It's going to affect it's affecting mental health, but it's a challenging thing. I don't have all the answers, but there's a lot of things that I question that I don't think are right. I don't think the long periods of social distancing is the right way going forward. As someone who knows a lot about mental health, and the effects of isolation can be far worse than it appears with the virus. But I am sad that a lot of people have lost their lives and have suffered. It is tragic, but at the same time, are we supposed to just stop living and stay in our flats and be scared forever? I mean, it's really challenging time. Everyone's trying to be positive and do their thing, but I mean, that's why I created this show as well, because I thought, well, if I can't meet people in person, I've got to come up with something, and this is better than nothing, and I know it will help a lot of people. So yeah, I'm really on par with what you're saying, Laurence.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely agree. And you're doing a great job too, Johnny, the service that you
Thanks,
bring
man.
to people. I've been watching your videos for a long time. I would like to ask you a question if I can.
Of course you can.
Okay.
Rusty interview, great social skills.
So as a content creator and somebody that is trying to grow that side of the business, you've done this before, and I've watched your success from your YouTube channel grow. What's the one tip that you could give people out there that want to start a channel and how to grow? You know, maybe they have 0 subscribers, somebody that had several thousand. How do you get to that point? What did you do to be successful in that realm? What tip could you give?
I think the best advice I can give people is not to focus on the numbers, just to just to get into it and love it and take action, and it will get to that stage. But if people focus on the numbers of subscribers and growing and making an impact, it's going to be very difficult to do it. So a lot of it's by accident. I could never have planned what I did. I believed in myself, but you never really know what's going to happen with it. So like you said earlier, all the tips you gave, you've really just got to love it, take a lot of action, take it one day at a time, and get into it, and just don't quit and don't compare yourself to other people, because there's always someone bigger, there's always someone smaller. Your time will come. Like the way I found you, how we found each other. I found your work and I've digged into it more. I'm going to look at it more. I'm a subscriber now. People on this channel are going to subscribe to your channel. I think an important thing is to be social, if that makes sense. The more people you talk to and help, the more they're going to tell the next person. So I didn't realize that years ago. I had to backtrack and analyze my journey. And I think a lot of us are not social enough because of our own fears. And the more you socialize, even online, the bigger your platform grows, the more people know about you. So don't be scared to share your story and what you have, because there's loads of people out there that need financial.com and love it and personally would like you. So it's the same advice that you gave to me and the listeners, and don't quit. And like you said, don't be afraid to ask for help at points where you get stuck. I got stuck many times. I still get stuck. Like you, I'll be humble and ask for help, because there's always someone who knows more. So that's all my advice I would give to anyone. Never quit. Never quit. Keep going with it.
Yeah, don't give up.
Exactly. So that was great, man. I really enjoyed the interview. I knew I would enjoy it. I'd love to get you back on, Laurence. So if anyone wants to connect with you, Laurence, find your website. Do I tell them to go to financialthing.com? I'll leave some links below. Is there anything else you want to direct people that want to contact you?
Yeah, you can go to the YouTube channel in the link below. We do a weekly live stream at 7:30 p.m. UK time every Thursday evening, and the Facebook group is a great community of people that we discuss investing. I interact a lot through there, and I'm also on Twitter. So yeah, that's it.
That's great, man. Laurence, thanks for coming on. I'll talk to you for a few minutes after this interview. I really enjoyed it. Thanks, my friend.
You're very welcome, Johnny. Anytime. Good luck to you.
Remember, guys, as well, to subscribe, like, and share this page, and I'll see you soon. Become fearless.